So I would say that there are a number of issues facing Latinx students as they pursue K-12 and higher education in the United States right now. One of the big issues is the discrepancy between the K-12 student population and the K-12 teacher demographics.
We see in research that disposition is one of the things that can either facilitate the process of second language acquisition or hinder the lack of disposition, and that comes from self-worth.
It's important and it helps and it's essential sometimes in the way kids think about things, right? So the use of translanguaging in the classroom, saying it's okay for kids and or the teacher to move into Spanish or another language in order to make a connection or explain in a different way and make things more accessible for our students.
It tends to be easier for Latinx teachers to understand the cultural background, the linguistic background of their Latinx students. They tend to have higher expectations. They tend to not buy into all the stereotypes that are really common in the United States right now. And Latinx students need to see that there are people who believe in them. In the United States, we have a really strong language ideology that values monolingualism. We value knowing English. We don't really value knowing other languages, especially if they're languages that people bring with them into the school. When we tell kids explicitly or through all the implicit things that schools and teachers do that their language isn't valued, what we're telling them is that you're not valued. We're saying that the language you speak, the language your parents speak, the language that you love doesn't have a place here in school, and that means you don't have a place here in school, and that pushes kids out.
In it, you have the children, you have the parents, and you have the grandparents. So the grandparents only speak Spanish, the parents speak Spanish and English, and the kids, for the most part, only speak English. They can understand, but they can't speak. And so I find myself really distressed at that loss of connectedness with their elders. You know, how does that fracture? You know, how does that impact a family? And, you know, the whole sense of self.
The discourse in our country right now is incredibly negative towards Latinx students, towards Latinx people, towards immigrants, and that trickles down into the schools. And we can't underestimate the impact that trauma and stress have on students' learning.
What is the message that the society is saying to these children? Are you being validated? Is your language being validated? And based on what those experiences are, is that they internalize the disposition or the lack of disposition for pursuing education.
I think we need to help teachers understand family is very strong. Our students are very much committed to giving back to their families. Celebrate that.
To bring in that sense of camaraderie and self-worth and respect of the cultures that they are representing.
And they are bringing with them tremendous linguistic knowledge. They are extremely competent, they're extremely capable, they have a lot of resources.
I speak another language, it is an asset. I'm bringing a flavor and a different sound that can actually create new ways of learning. And so creating those kinds of opportunities from very early on, that begins to have a sense of pride in the child and that message, that direct message that being multilingual is an asset and not a deficit from very early on. And that comes from the teacher, from the attitude and the disposition that the teacher portrays in the classroom, that they're going to get that message. We're in this country, we are accepted.